You all are getting a real treat today, so I'm going to go ahead and shoot this one in 4K, even though I told myself I hate 4K. So, in today's episode, I wanted to kind of go over what all happened with the wagon and what the real damage was after that whole mud excursion. And to start us off, we'll get right into it with the U-joint. You see the U-joint, it literally just snapped the teeth, or snapped the prongs just directly right off of it. They gone. So it wasn't cut failure like I initially thought it was. This U-joint just completely failed. So that's why I've been looking at the spicers and the 1310s since then, and I think I have that all taken care of how I want to do all that. So those are coming soon, and I'll post the details whenever I do that video of upgrading the drive shaft. But on today's episode, more importantly, I really want to talk about the 3 different directions this wagon's going to take next year. This is going to be a big episode. This is going to be some stuff I haven't ever revealed. And I've been sitting on this because I really want to do my homework first before I dive into one of these 3 directions. So bear with me. It'll be a little bit it'll be a quick video, but it'll be very important. Now hopefully this will work. It's funny, in this digital age, you really have a hard time finding something to write on. So, good old boxes. Nothing like Amazon Prime to fill your house full of boxes. Anyway, let's get started. So, wagon number 1. Wagon number 1, so you got the wagon here. Beautiful illustration, I know. Please hold your applause to the end. The reason for net wagon number 1, drumroll please, portals. Now I've been designing portals for the wagon for the last probably 2 years, and I keep running into little road stops, and then eventually got to the overall cost of portals. Now, portals are very pricey. So if you don't know what a portal axle is, basically you have an input and output. So basically what happens is you have your normal, let me see how I explain this. So you get your axle shaft that comes out of the wagon, you bolt a plate on, the plate, then you put the portal box on, which plugs into that axle and drops your axle output another 4 inches, 3 inches, or whatever size portal you have, and gives you overall more ground clearance and the ability to re-gear for whatever tire size you have, and even go to infinitely low gears of however low you want to go. Now, where I got this idea is the side-by-side world and the four-wheeler world all work just like the wagon. It's all independent, but they run portals to drop down, and I give them much more clearance. And I'll show a little clip of one here, and that's great, and it works well for them. And they've come up with systems where it's just bolt-on applications for most side-by-sides and a lot of four-wheelers, and that's great and all. But the wagon will be completely custom, and I have a machine shop I've been talking to about how to make that work. And I've been hanging on this for a while because I wanted to be the first if I could get it done. And another thing is too, I want to do the research first before I go and say this is the answer. I'm very analytical with the way I go about this. So wagon number 1, the advantages: huge amount of ground clearance, lowered gears. It pretty much is the answer for re-gearing, more ground clearance. I can run a giant tire. I run 35s or whatever I wanted to. It widens the stance out. The cons: it's very heavy per wheel, very, very expensive, and lead time and part building and all that stuff is that's where the part comes in, where this plan has been kind of shoved to the side a little bit. Plan number 2. Now wagon number 2 is my wagon plus K24 all-wheel drive. Now, I know what you're saying. I've had tons and tons of people say, you need a K-swap, you should K-swap, and I've always come clap back immediately saying, no, I don't want to lose my super low gear. but there may be a solution for that. I have been doing some heavy research over the past few months on this solution, on making the K all-wheel drive with a super low reduction gear, and seeing if this might work. I think this might be a good answer for that, to bring it to a crawl gear. I am probably 75% done with my research as far as what I want to do. The good thing is with this wagon, all right, we'll go to the pros and cons real quick so I can go ahead and move on, and I don't want to talk too much. So the pros: torque plus, lots more torque. Horsepower plus, excellent. Part availability plus, that's more of a pound sign, sure, pound. Part availability is humongous. K-Series stuff is much more available than D-Series all-wheel drive stuff. Don't even get me started. Downsides of this one: unproven. No one else has done this kind of thing with rock crawling. I say rock crawling loosely, trail riding, but it basically, I want to be able to climb hills easier. I want to have more fun off-road with a more robust setup. Expensive. Not as expensive as Portals, not as expensive as option number 3. So it's the least expensive of all. It's doable. More cons. Ground clearance could possibly be a con. It's a tall motor, but with lift in the way, you got to do all that stuff. I think we can negate that. Another pro, proper final drive. So doing some calculations and having my tires right now are 30% larger than factory. My final drive needs to be drastically larger. And the good thing is, for the K, there are several large final drive options for the all-wheel drive K-Series transmission. So I could make it a really high final drive, giving it a really short gear, and that would give a lot more torque, like 20% more torque across the entire power range. The downside of that really is you lose top end. I don't need top end in the wagon, obviously. So option number 2 is looking fantastic, and I'm leaning toward that the most out of all 3 options. Now, option number 3. So you got the wagon here. This is the transmission. You got the transfer case. You got the front axles. So what I'm thinking about, what I've been doing some research on, I haven't really gone down this rabbit hole very far yet, because the math is really complicated and I get a headache and I quit. Delete the front axles, run this to a 2-step or 2 transfer case box with sticks on top, run this to a front axle, run this to a rear straight axle. The front axle could be an independent, or it could be a full solid axle, and that would give you lower range, obviously, dual case, and you can run it just 2-wheel drive in the back. This one I'm not quite sold on yet because it's a lot of research and obviously it's a one-off thing. And I think that honestly the easier answer, but less cool way, would just be to go ahead and swap a K-Series rear-wheel drive to a Toyota transmission, to a dual box transfer case, sticks on top, then front and rear axles, completely custom. But the thing is, I don't want to do, so what a lot of people do is shortcuts for making cars large, is they take the body of the car and they slap it on top of a S10 chassis or Blazer chassis, and they say, that's cool, that's an off-road rig, look at me. I don't like it. I've never liked it. I think it's cheap. I think it doesn't look cool. It doesn't have that same factor. It's like, oh, you did that? Ah, okay, I get it now. I don't want to do that. So if I was going to go this route, crazy as it sounds, I want to do custom tube front and rear subframes, front, rear. Like I said, I could option to leave this independent. It wouldn't be ideal, but most Toyota applications where I was thinking about stealing this from would be independent front. The dual box transfer case, and then a straight axle in the rear out of a Toyota or similar, some kind of gear ratio that gives me something nice and happy. And I think that would be cool. Give it a much wider stance, much more off-road capability. You could actually make it a rock crawler per se, and that would be crazy. Now follow me on this. This is nuts. I would love to do this eventually. Or would I? I don't know. That's the thing. That's why I'm kind of at this crossroads for next year's wagon build. My heart, my mind, and my common sense leads toward the K all-wheel drive and custom transmission. I think that'd be the most fun. I think that goes along the lines of still doing my Rally CRX. I'll learn a lot finishing the all-wheel drive CRX swap in this. Now, this is where it gets complicated because now, the sane and probably the route I'll end up going is the K24, all that stuff. Now, I could obviously do this. This would make great content, and eventually I could probably do this because the wagon's going to be a constantly evolving thing. The thing is, with the K24 and leaving it basically a Honda just on steroids, I like that idea because it's still, at the end of the day, a Honda. It's all Honda. It's all Honda all-wheel drive stuff. It's nothing crazy. It'll be the best you can make a Honda out of just Frankensteining parts together. And I think there's a lot of appeal to that, keeping it that way. Because going this way is really cool. It's obviously the pinnacle. But it's not the design intent, originally how I wanted to do the wagon. Originally I wanted to do the wagon as crazy as I could get in the Honda configuration. Now this is obviously as crazy as I can get, plus some other stuff. So that's where the whole divide is here. Which do I go, and which one ultimately makes more sense? So hopefully this whole rant kind of gets you down that route and you kind of see what I'm talking about here. Is it jargon? Let me know in the comments, but I want this to be an open discussion. I should have said that at the beginning. I want the comments to fill up with, what do you think? What are your hang-ups? What are your concerns? Tell me what's up. Now, let's go back to the garage. Well, now that you heard that crazy rant, let me know what you guys think below. My mind has been going crazy about this, trying to figure out what to do next. I love the wagon in its current state, but going and tearing it down and doing a crazy, insane build with it is going to be hard because it's going to be down for a while, and having the wagon down for a while is going to be hard. But supplementing that with the CRX, the Fiesta, and everything else I have, I think I'll be okay. I'll have plenty of content coming. I'll have plenty of stuff to do. So let me know. The supercharger build is still going to happen. I still want to check off that box in my mind and have it supercharged. And that may just be the whole winter is it supercharged into spring or however long. And if it ends up, hey, the supercharger has changed everything about my outlook on this, that may just be the answer, and I may just roll with it from there. I don't know yet. There's just so much in my mind right now going on with it. So let me know what you think below, and I'll see you soon.